Well, Team Vikings' long-awaited return to an international stage certainly did not disappoint. They lead 1-0 in this series against the Crazy Raccoon. I'm back on the desk with Jess and Bala. 6-6 at the half, but a strong finish from the Brazilians.
Yeah, the second half was nice from them. And it got kind of loud in here once they started
really
rolling.
Loud,
it made me kind of happy because it reminded me of Reykjavik. I see Saucy smiling over there. It makes me feel nice inside seeing them back on the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were sort of speculating on the pre-desk, where is Sassy sitting? Where is the man now? Is he on the Sova? Is he on the Jet? And guess what? He went back on the Sova very, very nicely. I think I'm putting that as an understatement on the desk here.
I mean, of course, Tom and Ryan, who love Saucy so much. I don't know why, but he definitely had a storm of a performance here against Crazy Raccoon on Icebox, and so impactful, Bala, for this team.
Yeah, I think whenever you remember literally every single Sova ult, every single Hunter's Fury from that map, you know that he had an impact, because it felt like every time that Neth went for a res, Saucy was there with the Hunter's Fury in his face. Like, literally, it was so good, and honestly, took that final round for them as well. This was, in my mind, the play of the map for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't even know this wall could be spammed.
I didn't either, yeah.
I wondered what had happened at that point, because I knew that obviously he'd been spotted, but I wondered where the wallbang came from. Where was he positioned to be able to take advantage of that? Big thing for me as well, Sassy, I believe round 21 when he hits the Hunter's Fury back and goes, you can't do it, I can do it better. And he puts it on show, and I'm like, oh, the BM.
One of the reasons he's so good at that, though, is the repositioning. You saw after that wallbang, he backs all the way up, so he has a diagonal angle on that hallway so nobody can escape, and there was the miss slow by Neth that, you know, we won't talk about that one, but...
I mean, this is a big statement from the Vikings. You know, people were pretty critical of them after Reykjavik missing out Masters Berlin as well. And Bala, we had some questions on whether they were going to iron out their old mistakes. Do you feel like they have after Icebox?
Oh, I said, you know, seeing Icebox was going to answer that for me. But I don't really think it did, right? Because now I'm thinking about what's coming up next. Yes, I like to see Saucy obviously play, but that was a map that he was already doing it. The one thing was the Omen that they were picking on Icebox on top of the Viper wasn't there, obviously. But now that I actually saw it in action, I'm like, is it really going to make a difference for them on the rest of the maps too?
Yeah, exactly right. The big thing for me moving forward is that, okay, maybe they've solidified the roles a little bit more. That's what I'm going to be looking for, is they look a little bit more confident. They look more comfortable. And yes, okay, maybe it's a baby step compared to what happened last time. It's also the first map we're seeing them in. But not only that, but they've cleared things up, at least in my mind, when it comes to roles, when it comes to those agents. And that's a nice baby step moving forward. Map number 1, we still got plenty to go.
Well, we saw a lot of funky stuff on that map. I can't wait to see what Sean's been cooking up over at the Telestrator War.
Thank you so much, Yensu. Yes, I have a really cool round that just shows how different the approach is from both of these teams. So first of all, we have Crazy Raccoon on defense, and then we have Vikings on attack. I want to draw attention to how synergized and how just well coordinated the Crazy Raccoon push is in comparison to how reactive and loose the response is that Vikings has. So before we start the clip, I'm just going to draw attention to a couple things that are happening across the map. We have the Viper wall coming in on attack, as well as a poison orb that's going to go in mid, the standard one that you always see. So this wall denies vision from the B player, and you can see meanwhile at B, this Viper has put the orb on the plant spot. Why has she done that? Because there's 4 people over here at the A site. So she knows this is a retake on the B site, and I'm going to leave the orb there for when I have to fall back in the future. So going through the round a little bit more here, you can see the orb is now being thrown into mid, but this is now at the A site. This is the Crazy Raccoon push that I was talking about. So this is going to get wild here, guys. We have the KO flash in hand, obviously, and then you're gonna have a recon hit this wall that he's aiming at. So you have the choice whether you want to break the recon dart and get flashed, or you just get flashed and you don't break the recon dart, and this push is still happening regardless. The Sage is going to put a wall on the ground right in front of this KO, and it's going to give 3 people a pathway up onto Belt, and the Sova is going to dot the I's and cross the T's and get on top of pipes. So you can see there, Munchkin, or I'm sorry, Fisker is taking the lead right there. The recon is on the back wall. The flash went in. You can see the spacing is phenomenal with these players. And if you look at the mini-map actually right now, you can see the Sage wall is down right there, which allowed all 3 of these players to come on belt. Meanwhile, the Sova has hopped on pipes and is holding this main entrance for them. Now, this actually all goes wrong because they overstay their welcome, right? But look at the reactive play from GTN. This is where the round changes drastically. He has a lot of freedom in this position with the Blade Storm as well. He uptraps over his own teammate's Poison Orb Smoke in mid. This gives him all of the info that Boiler is clear. In addition to this, he's about to clear out the kitchen. So he knows 3 to 4 people are pushing A, and he can get an insane flank. And he hops on this right away. So he's clearing out all of these angles, making sure no one's lurking in mid on him, and he's immediately walking into this. You can actually see on the minimap, the only player left with him at this point is this Sage, and the Sage has the spike. So the Sage has to play super passive, not get pushed on from any of these angles, and watch how she ends up following. Well, it ends up happening after the 2 frags, but GTN's going to get 2 frags here on this flank, one of which is a completely unaware Sova. And this is part of the problem with Crazy Raccoon throughout this map. They had great initial takes, but they fell apart in the late round. And here's the rotation from Sage coming in when GTN gets those frags. You can see the wall goes down to allow them safe passage into this A site. And even though Ada had the wall for the retake, it's not enough. The utility just isn't enough to stop the 2v1 defuse from being denied. And guys, this right here is why I think Vikings is going to take the series. Their adaptive play throughout this game really, really impressed me. So I'm curious what you guys think back on the desk.
Wow, that's a big compliment from the one and only, the man himself, Sean Guess. He's backing Vikings all the way. But we got to talk about the next map because Vikings, they have to win this map if they want to take the series 2-0. And that is going to be Haven. But before we kind of dive into it, if you look at the team comps that both teams have played in the last 1 or 2 times, Bala, we might not get any Astras. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that was not what I expected coming into Champions, you know? That really wasn't, and was our problem that we already spoke about at the beginning of the series coming into this for Vikings. And Crazy Raccoon, you know, they threw out the brim last time. It worked for them. So
I loved that. Yeah.
If it works, don't fix it. But honestly, you got to start moving and adapting to the times.
Yeah, I really don't think, unless Vikings is stuck in their own old ways, they're going to bring out their Omen again. I don't believe that that's something they want to replicate over and over and over again. We've already seen change on their Icebox. I guarantee with the months and months we've had since August, there will be a different composition. What it will be is a nice little surprise. And I know once we get into that agent select, it'll be nice. But let us not forget, I'm going to set some precedents here. Yeah. Vikings, last time they played this map, yes, okay, maybe an old sort of iteration, they thrash Vivo Keyed. Let us not forget that. So there's some good map, I guess, win ability here for them.
We're just going to head into the Prime Gaming Agent Select and now, and letting you guys know the Medusa is coming in for Bazi, I believe, for this map. So we can at least expect a Cypher or a Killjoy here.
Yeah, and what we can also expect is no Sova, right? Because that's what Bazi plays. That also means they probably will bring in the Sky, like always, but...
Yes, we have Astras! Woohoo!
Wait, this is Astra and Breach, and we're seeing literally the comps that we saw from Vision Strikers in full sense. So literally, they saw that this morning, they're like, I want to play like that. That was cool.
Yeah, let's go. They've caught on with the meta. And Jess, like you said, this was the biggest criticism of a team like Vikings, so this is great.
They themselves criticized themselves about the fact that they were 3 to 4 months behind everyone all the time. Guess what? They've caught up. I won't say that will show in the map necessarily, but it's showing that they've at least fixed compositionally what they need to do to get there. Baby steps, baby steps.
Well, I'm very excited for this map, but of course, the Crazy Raccoon, they have to win here if they want to stretch it out to map 3. Ryan and Tom, take it away.
Well, thank you very much to Sean Gers and, of course,
everyone else.
But yeah, no, we've got some meta comps actually coming through here. We were maybe expecting like a Brimmy, like looking at some of the old ones, or even an Omen, but I guess Vikings, they've stepped up with the times.
Yeah, the opportunities are endless. What I like is that you do have sort of what's clearly forming as a meta right now, because we saw like the Breach and Sky from Vision Strikers and Full Sense before. I like this matchup because they're pretty much identical versus a Sky and a Sova.
Yep.
They're the differences. And usually they're supplementary of each other. You don't tend to see one instead of the other all that much. It's nice to see a lot of Breach, though. I feel like because it's in Berlin as well, it's like a style. And the fact that it's become globally meta on a map like this warms my heart.
Well, one of the things that frustrated me a lot last tournament was that Fisker was weirdly kind of moved onto a Sky throughout the majority of the tournament when it didn't really make sense. He's that aggressive jet, and Munchkin had taken that away from him. It seems like Munchkin's now looked to adapt his own style. We've seen a KO in the first map, now moving on to a Sova in the second, so I'm expecting big things from him here, because I think he showed that at least individually, it didn't matter what agent he was playing.
The only concern is he's only played it once in an official ever. And Sassy, it's the first time he's played Breach, and not a bad start. The 2 kills flashing in there. Just actually get the setup on Sadak. It's a prime game in Flawless. We saw few and far between of those on Icebox. We're starting with one straight away for Vikings.
Yeah, that is one hell of a confident start. I know that Sassy said in the press conference yesterday he learned all of his Sova stuff from Average Jonas. I want to know who he learned his Breach from.
He's a good Breach player to watch. Who do you reckon? I remember Elementrix. I don't know how much he streams at the moment.
My favorite's always going to be Leo.
Yeah.
I'm a big Leo fan. But then again, I like watching Leo on any agent because he's one of my favorite players.
I liked watching Bonkers Breach. It's a shame that...
let's move on from now on.
It's unfortunate timing that Breach has become meta now, is all I'll say.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, it's a solid start at least from the Brazilian side. For the attack here.
Wait. Munchkin just managed to make his way in very quickly. Still, FRZ managed to get the kill, but it was just a gap. And it's now a bit of a panic stack coming through. I mean, GTN is going to hear all of this clumping, and FRZ ready to face.
Was that an attempt at a lurking Sova? I don't think those words have ever left my mouth before, but you know what? I'm intrigued by it. I don't know if that will continue to happen in the buy rounds, considering the utility he's likely to have. Although, again, even just 2 kills in this round for Crazy Raccoon would be a pretty decent one. We saw the likelihood of clean rounds throughout the matchup. I think in the last map we had 1. We've already had 1 in this one, but realistically, I'm not sure how much more to expect.
The C site is open. It's not really going to be contested all that much. And there's obviously utility that's going to come online. Like Sassy does have that fault line ready. It's going to be used early. And it's a case of just running in at this point. It's just that utility used early. Now they just got to kind of face it. And I don't really think Sassy was expecting that kind of play, but with that Bulldog, it still works out in the end. I don't think it should have done, though.
No, it definitely shouldn't. He should have been dead. But, you know, Sassy's so calm, he just looks into his opponent's eyes, and they start to panic. 2-0, 4 players alive. A few shields, bit of utility spent, but I don't think Vikings are going to be too bothered about that one. And now we need to see that response, because honestly, if we get another, like, quick start from the Vikings and it takes, like, Crazy Raccoon to build back in, I don't think they're going to build back in. Like, I will not feel confident in their ability to do that after the last map. And we've seen it before where this team has crumbled on the stage. I hate to say it, but that has been a running theme of Crazy Raccoon.
And you were expecting them to work on that in that time, right? They knew after Berlin that they would be here. It's the sort of team with the most points from the Japanese region. And we just wanted to see what adaptations they make, and like it's really just been agent changes, and that's really been it. Like composite, like the protocols of it, it's been very shallow. It's just we put Munchkin on a different agent. That is the only real change to an extent.
Yeah, and I believe as well that he's actually calling for the team. So if he's calling and being the only adaptation and having to play new agents,
write the theme tune and sing the theme tune. Yeah.
It's kind of a lot on his plate. So we'll see how it goes in this map. Slower start from them again. An aggressive push already coming up on the defensive side. They've got C Long pretty much on lock, and well, although it might be their Astra player, it means that elsewhere they're just spotting. GTN already landing the shot and spotting the jet on the other side. Just going to fall back a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to re-aggress a little bit. That's something that we did see to an extent from Vikings on their attack. Just checking sewers, not going to see much. I mean, if it ends up on the B site, that's still quite nice for Vikings, considering they have a lot of control centrally. They still have that alarm bot in Garage, which is going to have that impact. Sassy using that utility to stall, and Sadak, the Nano Swarm, the stun combo, completely rips apart Fisker.
Yeah, and he was the only one that entered the site. The rest of the team a little bit delayed, looking to play that almost old-school B-site style. The timing could work nicely, though, for Munchkin. He's managed to sneak his way through, but again, the duel is going to go the way of Vikings, leaving them with a man advantage. Sassy low, and no utility online, but he still manages to hit the timing. And now he's got that Rolling Thunder, as you mentioned. He could decide just to use it here and basically end this round in this track. Medusa is screwed here, surely. But he somehow still survives! No, as well! It's left into the 1 versus 1, and only a pistol available for FRZ. Are they already going to look to pull him off the spike? And with the rifle in hand, you have to favor him here. Just playing that time, lurking back further. And there should be no chance here for FRZ. He's just going to hope to try and stick this one all the way. Actually, lands the shot at least, and he's going to connect. Does he have time to get the defusal? I think he does as well. There is no way Vikings should have won that round, but somehow FRZ brings it home.
I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you guys later. I need to... Tom is just going about to lay down at this point. It's one of those moments where I'm thinking like Sassy, like he gets that Rolling Thunder online. I was like, he doesn't really need to use it at this point. It seems comfortable. Then he still goes down. Sassy with the Bulldog kill, backs off. He's like 20 HP. FRZ plays that perfectly. You can't say any better than that. The fact the crazy Raccoon on the site is just, they get Rolling Thundered and they still get a kill.
That's not a cam I wanted to see.
Heartbreaking.
The fact is, with the purchase as well, this round shouldn't have even been particularly close. That was the bonus for Vikings. They did the majority of their damage with a Bulldog, for God's sake. That was a 10 HP player in the form of Sassy that basically put them in the ground. And then FRZ only had a pistol to start with to actually fight that one back. So it's a huge economic boost for the side of Vikings as they now come in with a flawless purchase. And you look on the other side, sure, they at least have Medusa, who again, I feel like he was one of the players that at least last in the tournament, Ryan, he looked pretty good for Crazy Raccoon, but he doesn't start on a lot of maps.
Yeah, that's always the issue when you have a 6-player roster. I mean, it's fairly common, like Vision Strikers have the same, but even then you're looking in positions where like Lakia, an insane player that we've seen barely playing on that side, right? It's just some teams are on board with it, but I guess as a professional player, you just want to play as much as possible. And if you're everybody else on the team, you have to adapt with new players coming in and out on the roster depending on what maps. It just breaks any momentum that you can get. Now, with Munchkin already going down, Recon Dart isn't going to be available, and even then, when it was used, Sassy cleared it up instantly. There's so much utility here that's just going to stonewall Crazy Raccoon as they make their way in onto the site, and this position from Steakhouse, it's just hard to even peek at this point. Just stuns, aftershocks. Clean, another flawless Prime Gaming. It's just those kind of moments where, like Vikings now, I feel that they've just turned it up, and what a time to do it.
I'm starting to worry a little bit watching the way that Munchkin is currently playing Sova, because on all the other agents that we see him play, like we've seen him play Sky in the past on the last map, he was playing under the KO. I feel like there's much more of an opportunity for him to quote unquote initiate, whereas when you're on the Sova, a lot of the time I want to see you using your utility to make space for other people to make a move. Instead, that's now, I think, the second time we've seen him just walked into the B site, get headshotted, and then they've just got all of that utility down on the ground. So I'm hoping that that's just eco rounds.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be a running theme, because that's not a way I want to see Sova played.
Because even if it starts to come into the full buys, not only is it not really working, but Vikings are going to get a good feel that that is something that's consistently happening. Like, the lurk is nice if you can have like a Killjoy doing it, especially on attack, because your utility, if you die early or not, it's not really pivotal to the rest of the round. If you lose your Sova first, you lose your direction.
Yeah. I think as well, maybe he will sell something and repurchase. I don't think he actually has enough credits to buy his drone, which I feel like
doesn't need it. He is the drone.
There's one on the left. It's like, yeah, but you're dead, bud. Not the most useful thing in the world. We'll see. It might develop in a different stance. On the other side of things, though, Vikings are off to a flying start. Like, we are seeing the individual players pop off. We are seeing them with decent utility usage, space denial. Like, these are the sort of things that I want to see from Vikings. And although it comes at the opposite side of the scale for Crazy Raccoon, where I'm like, oh god, it's happening again. Yeah. It's a positive sign for Vikings, because as I said, in their group, there are real opportunities for them to make it to a playoffs. And one of the other things that I don't know if we mentioned it too much, but this team has been together so long that I feel like if they fail at this tournament,
it's done.
That might be the change.
You got Ninjas in Pajamas that are now moving to Brazil for next year, right? There's a lot of big orgs that are looking at this, because it's an open region. You know, you expected VCT to be that sort of super team to come in with players from Vorax and the like, but in the end, Vikings were still dominant for a while. VCT came in and response hasn't been quite there, so it'll be interesting to see them match up again if it ever happens in this tournament. For Vikings, it's, you know, like it's not a player that you need to get rid of.
He's there again. Sidicast is just taking so much space for the team. And it just means that realistically they can start to almost gamble utility elsewhere. They've got so much control with the stars and nano swarms over on the B site. They've then got 2 players sitting up, and that's not the start you wanted. Well, I was wondering how they were going to utilize the lockdown in this round. They're not.
Now there's a bit of trepidation from Vikings now leaning over to A. And I like that guiding light, get some information, but Fisker uses that opportunity to line up. That is a really nice grab that comes in from Addy. He's far away from the action. And now he's going to be able to plant the spike now just behind the rest of the team. Neff needs to get this kill here, but Sidicast might have a... If he gets down A long, nobody checks him.
Oh no. Oh, the timing could be the worst thing in the world. It's a bit of a whip, but he gets away with it. Turned down to just 1 player. Now he's got at least a bit of utility. The ultimate online to at least try and delay Sadak as much as possible. And, well, the turret is not really going to help him too much. In fact, it's going to be blasted away to the other side. This now looks like a very unlikely scenario for Sadak to be able to win. Neff looking for that swing out. He is actually going to get tagged up, but with the operator in hand, they're just hoping for a peek, and he is playing this perfectly, delaying as much as possible, and Neff will be able to close the round. Crazy Raccoon, they're on the board, but again, it's never a clean one. Only 1 player survives.
I think they'll still take it, though, considering how the round started. Just the decisions, like Fisker just made up that space in the end. Like Vikings, I think, again, overstepped the line a little bit. Kind of, we're in a 5 versus 4. It couldn't work out better when it comes to that utility catching too with a grab. Like, that's realistically not going to happen again. But that's a round that you want to see more. It isn't just like the Munchkin show. Like, every other player on that team had a moment to bring that through. And Neff on the breach as well, showing why he picked it in the first place. The util was nice in the post plan.
Shock dart through, attempting to try and destroy some early utility. Don't believe there was as much there as normal, and in fact, Sadak has just decided, you know what, I'm just going to try and escape out of this one. Use my utility to deny. Quick rotation coming through from Sassy to support. Bit of a whip though from Fisker. In fact, he's going to get stuck and then caught by Sassy. That has not gone well at all. The man who opened up the last round, but the lurk from Medusa has managed to bring things back into a workable position. The lockdown going to be placed in the corner, and he gets away with it. Still though, a 3 versus 3. And actually, there's a counter lockdown instead. The push coming up, hoping to try and garner some space. It's a kill coming through, and Sadak even manages to delay it, meaning, not quite caught, but he will escape. Still, though, a 3 versus 2 for the defenders.
I want to see Addy come down a little bit here, though. There's a bit of space and a lot of time to reset, and now we're starting to see Vikings splinter onto the different sites to see if they get a bit of a feel. Addy manages to just get the timing perfectly right, but he isn't checking. Sidicast is just aware of him playing in that nice back C site position. And you would have expected, or at least wanted, those 2 players of Neff and Addy to play together, to play off of each other, especially now that Vikings are split so thin. Sidicast, like, the fact that 1 player is able to just break apart 2 like that. Oh, Crazy Raccoon could have made something happen, but it was a crazy fight in mid.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many rounds you're going to spot like that with multiple lockdowns looking to try and clear out B and then just a push up, nobody really watching to try and deny that second player from actually destroying the lockdown. I think at that point they just expected them to give up the site. So a bit of a surprise coming through from Sadak. 5-1 though, and because they only have 1 player surviving in the last round, the money's kind of trash.
You see, like, glimmers of what Crazy Raccoon can bring to the main stage, but Vikings have been decent at, like, shutting down any responses. Like, it's been a couple of rounds here or there from Crazy Raccoon. Obviously, they brought it back on their defense on Icebox, but since their attack, it's been more of the same. Just the 1 round at this point. Fisker peeks into Sassy. FRZ is just spraying through, has an inkling that a player has slipped on by. Medusa, his lurks have been good, but he doesn't have the weaponry this time. And FRZ is not letting anybody past on A. Like, the pressure from Crazy Raccoon over towards the A site is just non-existent for the most part, unless it's all the players going together, you know?
Bit of a gamble coming through. Rotation in towards this A site. Only 1 player spotted in that direction, and with long being cleared, actually they are going to see.
I think he wanted to be seen though, because it is gluing those A players over on that side. The rest of the team is moving on.
They love spamming this wall. They're just basically putting bullets through every single time someone looks to try and make a move. And Sassy, I feel like he's been cheeky throughout this map so far, right?
He's just been outbraining players.
30 seconds left.
The mixed, the well-roundedness of it all. Stekas is playing from that similar angle, and that is why that fault line comes in, just from these positions the defenders want to play on. But it doesn't really have any impact. The follow-through is just a bit behind it. The stun is no longer effective, and these bigger guns are just making it clean and clear. Not one kill is grabbed in the end from Crazy Raccoon. And I think this buy-up that's coming up next is super important for them to get a hold of. Otherwise, it's done.
Yeah, this is obviously another Prime Gaming Flawless. 3 of them coming through so far for Vikings, and 6-1 up, financially going to be in a much better position than what we've seen previously. Again, though, I don't think the ideas from Crazy Raccoon are necessarily bad. Like, the fault line was decent. It's just the timing. Like, the timing there, a little bit better. Both players stunned on the back of the site. You have a couple of entry kills and a potential after plant with some guns. Instead, they don't face off of it, and it's all too easy after that for the remaining players just to clear things up. So I can see what Crazy Raccoon are trying to do. It just is not working.
Vikings, you just want to see that clinical side come out of it, and Munchkin there has had that response. Now it's just the rest of the round now for Crazy Raccoon. What decision do they make? What are they expecting? Are they going to still dedicate to the C hit, the C split? Stekas is playing in on tunnel, but sort of realized that it might be a good move to get out of there. There is a cosmic divide that might help lead the way for Crazy Raccoon onto this site. The Rolling Thunder for Sassy is one of the reasons why they're holding off.
Yeah, they are ready to just try and stun them as they enter the site, and look how aggressive they're being. They haven't actually spotted Fisker, though. Are they going to expect him in this smoke? Absolutely not. He just manages to survive and cause them problems, but they pushed back in to FRZ. Still looking to try and make their move, and I'm a little bit worried for Sassy hiding in this corner. He's been stunned up, and nobody's checked it. And the second this goes down, it could be the end for Munchkin with a last-second turn. A big round from him individually. 3 kills coming up, and FRZ, well, the last clutch was unlikely. Let's see what he can do here.
You never know. You just never really know with these two teams, to be fair. It's not expected. Now FRZ just... Crazy Raccoon just not showing up anything. They know they're just keeping this money in order is good. It's not flawless because Medusa was caught out on that lurk from FRZ of all players as well. The wrap round is slowly coming in. Munchkin was the one that opened the site, and now he's the one at the back as well to try and wrap around, but it's not really going to have that impact. Fisker is there to clear it off the back of some nice util. And yet again, like Crazy Raccoon, like you said, the ideas are good, the execution is iffy in places, but there needs to be follow-up here, because Vikings' money hasn't really been contested all that much. They should still have a buy coming up.
Yeah, I'd be blown away if they did.
Odin as well.
Well, I know where he's going. He's been spamming through that garage wall every single round with a rifle, so there'll be absolutely no surprise for me if we're going to see that with the Odin. And again, GTN still with an operator. I feel like this is going to be contested early. Let's see, is he going to get anything off it? No. Good fault line. Grab well as well, so not going to get anything done, and this space goes for free almost to the side of Crazy Raccoon.
Good amount of utility use from Addy as well. Just to grab, like you mentioned, 2 stars handy, maybe some been dissipating and coming to roll on back as this A execute is going to be fairly quick. It's a bit more of a hold off as well. GTN with the op actually takes a fire just on that angle. Staying in that position, has smoked it, also has some other Astra utility to help. The Eldron trying to give up his position so Sassy can lurk in. They don't know he's here.
Oh, not again. He manages to just get the timing so right, but it is the trades this time from Crazy Raccoon that work out. A long flank coming through, and GTN likely just going to want to try and bring this operator through into the next round. A much better execution, and it does lead back to what was said on the desk. These executions from Crazy Raccoon pretty decent. It's where they have to adapt on the fly where things go a little bit wrong. But this was almost a picture-perfect round from them.
They can just face up against these Vikings players on the site, especially like GTN was one of the first to back out because he knew that he'd give away his position with the operator. Like, I need to clearly show myself, go off of the site so players like Sassy can learn. Yeah. There have been occasions where Crazy Raccoon haven't cleared some of these angles, but they're getting a little bit wiser. Munchkin especially, like clearing some of these ratty angles that Sassy's been playing from. In the cubby over on the C site, over just on the boosted box.
Medusa's having a good time at least. He finally gets into the server. And he will escape just before. I was a little bit worried that he was going to, you know, doing some tactical crouches and ends up actually getting killed by the spike, but not a problem for them here.
Timeout instantly coming in after that. It's just, we're going to just sit in silence. It's for Vikings this time. And it is the same as the last map. Like, just a strong start, and then Crazy Raccoon, towards the end, from round 6 to 12, start to come back into it a little bit. You're looking at this as well. Like, Team Secret are sat in their hotel, in their sort of room, just watching this game, knowing that it's likely that they might end up against one of these two teams. Like, I'd say they're likely to lose against Gambit. You never really know, but a team that wasn't a Masters Berlin, unfortunately, for reasons out of their control, going up against the team that ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Expectations are on Gambit to perform in that matchup. But that second spot in the group, it's these two teams are secret.
Well, that's the other thing as well, though, is that like we saw again from the press conference from the guys at Secret, they were saying that first few days a lot of teams didn't even seem like there was a point in scrimming them. They were maybe a little bit cocky, played them a few times, and then it was everybody else requesting them to actually play some matches. And I think we've had some positive, sort of, I think it was Shazam as well, saying that he was pleasantly surprised when playing against the Vikings, and I think that was something that was very common at the previous event. It's just been more of the local opposition for Vikings that they've actually struggled against, which maybe that's a good sign for them coming into this tournament now that they've made it here. And as said, like, this is similar to what we had last time with Envy's group. There's a clear favorite, but then the other spot is wide open. We don't know who to expect to get through. But Vikings still looking good for now. But again, they've sort of slowed off a bit. I also think that Crazy Raccoon is starting to realize that, okay, these mid-fights, these battles further forward have not been working out so well. Let's try and be a little bit more strategical in towards these early A fights. And, well, the same for C, because in the early rounds, we saw how much control was available to Vikings.
This time, no, they were using the same utility to grab, used very early from Addy over on C-Long, but FRZ continuing to push. This is the area that Medusa struggled with the most, just holding on for A lobby to see if anything else coming in. You have that operator sort of sat there from GTN watching sewers. So I don't think Crazy Raccoon at this point realized that they are running into a pretty scary stack of utility and stall when you're looking at a Breach, a Killjoy, and an Astra. But it's Highline from A. B just has utility on it. They can play retake if they need. These early rounds for Crazy, they feel like boxed into mid a little bit. Like, they can't really spread out. Vikings have a good idea on where these attackers are roughly going to be.
There.
They can just wait out time. They're slowing this right down.
This is what worries me. These are the calls that sometimes cause some issues. Again, we're going to see some solid utility, though. Sudicats is stuck in the corner of Visca. He's just going to wipe them both out. They've set this man up, and he has succeeded. The utility that's coming over the last few rounds from Crazy Raccoon has been solid, and now Medusa's just waiting. That knife in the back. Sure, FRZ is going to find a kill, but at this stage, I'm looking at this round again, Ryan, and saying that it's already over.
It seems like it feels that way for Vikings as well. Like, they're slowly backing out, meandering. They're not going to try and engage on this. And now the money's going to start to sweat. Like, GTN having and buying the op 2 rounds in a row. I don't imagine it's going to be good for him. He might be able to get Bladestorm online soon.
Yeah.
But the response has been there from Crazy Raccoon. Again, like, you look at them and go, this is a team that beat Havan Limity. They scared Gambit on a map. I really don't think you could say any more than that. And a team that has been consistently strong and relatively dominant, I'd say, in the Japanese region, which is constantly growing.
Yeah.
Like, even from the signings today, we're seeing, like, Suggest, I think it was, moving away from Newturn to play on a Japanese team, right? So this is a region that is about to get very strong. A lot of Korean players moving over as well. Crazy Raccoon is still the top team in that region.
Yeah, they've got the investment, they've got the backing, they've got the fan base. I think that's the thing that excites me most, is that we have an esport that is popping at the moment in Japan, which is a bit more of a rarity, at least in like TAC FPS side of things. So that was, I believe, not something, at least when you go back to the likes of CS, for example, that was never really the case. A few players here and there that have moved over, that's for sure, and well, most of them were playing within Zeta, at least previously. This, though, is where I feel like Vikings become more dangerous, looking to get a little bit more aggressive. And now they've found their opener, this is where I need to see a reaction from Crazy Raccoon, Ryan, because when they have their set play, they look great. When it comes to adaptations, not so much.
At least it is Munchkin going down, so he can call for his team, just checking their perspectives. Kind of like Angel does as well. Medusa!
Oh, okay. That was close.
That would have been a a terrible example of them trying to right a few wrongs. And now they're moving over to A. GTN being able to buy up another op at this point. It's a shame, really, because you're looking at it like Crazy Raccoon picked this round up. You then force Vikings on really tough money going into the last round of this half. Now Fisker now trying to up the tempo. He's full armor, full health. The stun is nice. The follow-up isn't going to be there on the right corner. GTN, he does go down, but FRZ is ready to trade and then some.
He's just going to look to hold his ground. They eventually clear him out, and the lockdown might give them at least a little bit of extra space. But for the remaining defenders, they don't really need to try and overfight. He got the kill.
Spike planted.
He just got the kill straight through the smoke. That's given them a real opportunity here. Sassy and Sudekas coming from completely different angles. Still a little bit of utility to try and clear them out. And I feel like Sudekas is going to have everything to do, looking to try and come in from behind. But I like this. Crazy Raccoon getting aggressive, trying to take the control from in front. And they are spotting that there's no one around this angle. They know that there has to be someone within head of them, someone coming in on the flank. And Medusa lands the shot. It's slapped all onto Sassy. A great recovery in this round from Crazy Raccoon. And again, they're fighting back in this second half.
The improvisation, just getting that kill to bring it to a 2 versus 2, and then pushing a link. The fact that Addy gets in behind Sassy up on the high ground. He was looking back at it a couple of times to see if somebody was going to flank him. Just a late time. FRZ does well to get those 2 kills, especially because the lockdown's going in that time. You don't have that split coming in together. Those ASUA players are late. They turned it around. What you wanted to see, we saw. Just the improvisation, the adaptation, and now it's Vikings that suddenly have to make it work. They have enough money to make it work to an extent. Like there is an Ares in the hands of Sadak. He'll be happy to run with that for the most part. Still trying to spam in that position. GTN, with the Spectre, still has the Blade Storm.
This is something we saw a lot in the early rounds. This deep control being taken from Sudekas. Now, they do have themselves the lockdown. Now, although this has been somewhere he's played a lot, it's never actually been spotted, but again, it's Munchkin. Having that read, finding themselves that opener, they're going to try and wait and hold on to at least a little bit of control, and the timing couldn't be better for Ade. Completely clearing out Sassy. Now they can afford to just back out of the lockdown. They have such a huge advantage. Sadak actually goes in with the Ares and manages to get himself a kill, but the trades are coming in thick and fast. Good spot currently for Crazy Raccoon to be in.
The spike still hasn't gone down at this point, no. Medusa now with the operator in hand is just sort of watching keenly. FRZ is going to push out of this, and the trades are there. It's nice stuff. Crazy Raccoon yet again being down, feeling like they're out at this point, bringing it back to even scores at halftime. This is still a lot to play for, and Crazy Raccoon, it was their attacking side that they struggled on an Icebox. Now they're defended where they had some solid ideas at the very least. Vikings are the ones that have to answer back.
I am starting to wonder that, because this is, again, something I said last time about Medusa. Like, he was someone that, realistically, I feel like has been good enough in the matches that we've seen that I would like to see him in this roster more. I think that, especially with adaptation and stuff like that, it has looked pretty good for him individually. So I'm hoping that we'll see him in more matches, but either way, we're going to hand it back over to the desk to give us what they think midway through this match.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, Medusa's has been very, very important for this team, but I'm getting a sense of deja vu. I feel like we've been here before, Jess. On Icebox, it felt like a similar scenario between these two teams.
Yeah, I have written here, Crazy Raccoon has this weird way of starting off every single half of every map, very slow, very sloppy, and all of a sudden it just clicks. They have an epiphany and they go, oh yeah, this is what I'm meant to do, this is how I'm meant to play, and it clicks for them how to adapt to their opponents.
But it almost feels like the first part of the half is always a game plan issue for them, right? On Icebox, it was stacking one side of the map on the defensive sides and then not really being able to rotate. And then once they stop doing that, all of a sudden things start to work. Here, it was Munchkin lurking with Sova? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Tom criticized him, and all of a sudden he stopped doing that.
Yep.
And all of a sudden the dart started hitting, and you have Fisker dashing into his smoke, and he's getting a bunch of kills. So those types of things changed for Crazy Raccoon after timeout or what? I really don't know what it is, but it's working.
I don't know. Speaking of working, I'm loving a little bit of the lurks that we're seeing from Medusa here and there over the map. There's a couple of times that Medusa's been able to sneak himself into positions where they're obviously not expecting him to be. I would like to see other players step up and use the map to that ability. Of course, this is a map that's wide across that you can utilize to be able to get in behind the enemy should you want to. I think that Medusa's trying to take a lot of that on his own shoulders, and as a result, it is not seeming like it's going to be a clear-cut round from mid to late round.
Yeah, I mean, kind of made sense, right, for Medusa to have that role. The Sova lurk, as you said, it wasn't working. They kind of changed it up. But I do want to quickly talk about Sarsi 2 on the breach.
Oh, yeah.
Another battle breach.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It actually is so
satisfying.
It's so good. I mean, it kind of adds a little bit to the split-second decision-making that Vikings has really added to their game in my mind. Like, for example, that clip we just saw of Sadak running into the place. Everybody is coordinated with him, right? They make a decision. They're like, okay, go for it. Let's go. And we're throwing utility with it. And they're committing to it rather than just one person like, oh, I can make a play, and then run off and die with no flash, no sky, like anything. You know, that has happened multiple times for Vikings in the past, but it's not today.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that we have to give props to Vikings for. We asked, did they learn, did they grow, did they catch up to the rest of the world? Check. I can say that at least compositionally, yes. Are they using their utility together as a team cohesive unit? Yes, I can tick that box off as well. Crazy Raccoon almost feels like they have the curse that Vikings had, where players don't really understand their role, what their agent is meant to do in that role, and as a result, it's like we're seeing, like, we're going back in time, and all of a sudden Crazy Raccoons is Vikings, and maybe vice versa, but either way, Crazy Raccoon's gonna have to pull some crazy stuff if they want to win this, I think.
Ooh, well, it's 6 at the half, 6-6 at the half. This one is a tough one to call. Back to you, Tom and Ryan, to get back into this game.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Japanese fans out there are hoping it's not quite going to go the same as the last map, because after the half, Vikings looked like they almost reset themselves and went straight back into the early stages, Ryan.
I think reset's an important word, because during the breaks, they do get a timeout to talk about some of the issues that they have, and that would explain why we see Crazy Raccoon coming back into it, and then Vikings having a response once we get into round 13. And Pistols, it is a complete reset, and the attacking side of Vikings, if you're looking at recent form, has not been great. There is a great opportunity for Crazy Raccoon to bring this to a third and final map, and I think this pistol is what they do in order to hold on. The stack of players is there. The recon dart tempted to be used, but it's just an ice, slow, glacial pace for Crazy Raccoon on this defense.
Yeah, patiently watching and waiting. They've got control from Fisker, watching into A, and I think the potential for a fault line to come through if he needs that extra support. For now, though, it's actually just Sadak that takes a dink. But this is all a bait. They're trying to pull players over. They're trying to move this rotation away from the C site. And a lot of it seems to be onto Ade, who is already a little bit tagged up here, Ryan.
Yeah, now it's just all 5 of these players from Vikings rolling in together on C-Long. Munchkin has been waiting here the whole time with his recon dart to play off of it. All of these smokes placed down, and it's just not really that much. I like this from GTN. He knows that that's the kind of play that Munchkin's going to make. He closes that distance.
Two of them desperately low. A chance here for the defenders to try and turn the tide into a 3 versus 3 scenario. Spike's still not planted, and they are slowly surrounding them. This round is going to be ended on Jules and Jules alone, and it's left just onto Sassy. Still, though, he manages to land the headshot onto the first. Both players desperately low, and Sassy brings it back again. This man has been on fire throughout the day, and he is bringing home the pistol for Vikings with a Red Bull clutch.
He's just been the hero that they needed for so often. Like, it's a group of leaders, I think, when you're looking at this, because you got Jesse Vash from Team Secret, Sassy has been online, and Munchkin, the idea, the game plan. Medusa managing to get this aggression, like Vikings wanted to try and change up the pace. And Crazy Raccoon, just in these moments, it's awkward, it's scrappy, the to-in and throw-in from either side. It's impossible to know who's going to win these rounds in the end. But there's one player just leaning up against the rest.
He is bold. That's all that needs to be said. He is performing to a very top standard today. And you know what? They've got another pistol. Have they won all the pistols? I feel like they've at least won 3. I can't remember if they won the second one on the first map, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did with how the game actually ended up going. So giving themselves everything necessary, at least, to get off to a strong start in the second half. And for the defenders, again, it's not much going to be invested. A shorty onto Neth. I will say I've enjoyed watching Neth on Breach so far. I think he's had some pretty impactful utility on the executions that Crazy Raccoon did have. And by the looks of it, there's definitely some sort of plan into sewers. The problem is, don't know how well it's going to work unless it's preemptive.
And Medusa wanted to try and sort of double down. The trade is nice. If you can keep it costly, it works. But GTN is really sending a note that they are going to burst onto these A sites very quickly. Crazy Raccoon, it was on the second half of Icebox that they won the pistol. That's the only one. So even then, when they did win the pistol, Vikings still took control of that half and ended up winning like 3 or 4 rounds in a row. It's just how well the mental's going to respond to this time. Like, pistols are their own different thing in their own separate vacuum. And this 4-buy coming in, we've seen a lot of bonus rounds being won from Vikings.
There is one thing in particular that makes me think this could be a little bit dangerous, and that's the fact that Sassy has had so many kills in the last few rounds that he's already got himself a Rolling Thunder, which...
And he's on a Bulldog, which is his god gun, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He wasn't in this round initially, but they have given it to him almost like you're going to set yourself up. Okay, there we go. That makes more sense.
Past the Bulldog.
But yeah, no, that if anything, that gives GTN the chance to actually go that little bit more aggressive. He had a quiet first half, that's for sure, especially to his standards.
They're pushing mid.
I like this.
It's usually what you see from teams when they're on an eco, not on a full buy like this. It's a huge gamble.
What's coming. I think that's what it is. I think they've spotted the Rolling Thunder, Ryan, and they've decided, okay, well, they're going to clear us off the site. So nobody's playing the site. Look, it's completely empty. And then they have a fast flank. This is actually a brilliant adaptation from Crazy Raccoon, but he's been caught by the alarm bot. They know that he's here. However, this was the plan all along. And by the looks of it, they're not actually watching for it. So Fisker's going to get himself the first one for free.
Now it's a case of Crazy Raccoon using these two positions in tandem, really. It's just one player from Fisker all on his own. And I like this wraparound from Satekas to try and weed him out a little bit. He's still getting kills. He's moving on to the site. There's still players going down from Crazy Raccoon. But Satekas, that late lurk, that flank, he made his position known and just cleans up at the end. And much like we've been seeing, it comes down to those 1v1 scenarios.
It really is a shame, because I think that the way that Crazy Raccoon played that round was correct. Like, they didn't play the site that they thought they would use the Rolling Thunder on. They played for the retake. They had a very early flank. And then it just comes down to these more aggressive fights coming out from Sadak, which, hey, if he's going to be able to do that with a Spectre, this now just comes down to individual ability. And I think at the moment, it looks like that's where Crazy Raccoon are lacking, because in comparison to the last map, I was seeing a lot of mistakes, a lot of silly plays, a lot of bad decisions. Same as the early stages of this map. That round, I think they played correctly. They just lost.
These kind of like percentage moments of Vikings have just been winning consistently throughout the series. 1v1 scenarios, the decision making. There's been a couple of moments, certainly from Neff, but he was taken out pretty early in that. On the high ground, Neff as he sprays him through. Now Fisker with that Blade Storm, if he can just find an opening, it's just shut down. It's those kind of moments where, like, yeah, Medusa, he's always good at getting a Sheriff kill.
Yeah.
But that momentum off of that hasn't really springboarded like he did on Icebox.
Good luck to Neff. Just trying to find something while hiding within the nebula.
He found something, all right.
Okay, that was pretty nice. I don't think there's much of a chance to win the round, but he's making it incredibly costly nonetheless. Time ticking away, a chance for a weapon, but GTN will deny. 10-6 again. Vikings off to a flying start. This is what they do in every single half of the map, it seems. And now we need a response.
You're looking at like different leaders on the kill feed. Like Sadak has just been that old reliable, you know, the backbone of this squad. I think Satekas and Sadak. You look at like Sassy, FRZ, GTN as like that holy trinity of aggressive players, right? But the backbone is so important on this side, and every player has had their moments on Vikings to clutch out and to show that they are some of the best talent in Brazil on their individual roles, which have looked the most comfortable for all of these players across the year. So it is nice to see them now, Crazy Raccoon, have their moments. This has to be one.
It's not pretty, but Fisker does escape at least. I thought he was dead for sure, but surviving is definitely better. And then the scenario he seemed to find himself in, I think that was all he could really expect to do. Again, though, this controller's been taken. He looks to try and swing back in on the peak, the timing on the drone. Well, he's been spotted multiple times. In fact, off the back of this, there's going to be a rotation from Vikings.
RD just sort of playing that pivotal role. A bit of Killjoy utility to play off, but is he going to hear that steps? Like, how is he going to use that utility? It's still holding off on using the smoke. It's only when he hears the dash and the flash coming in that it now starts to come in. And yet again, he's just trying to play close in these right positions. If this isn't cleared, it kind of half-assed it. And Sadak, again, has to be the sort of person that makes this situation better for Vikings, because Crazy Raccoon punished the bad fundamentals there.
And the dodge of the flash grants them to Satekas. It's perfect. Hits the timing, bang on. And it's left all onto Munchkin. He gets nothing. Sadak with a huge round, as you mentioned. 11-6 now in favor of the Vikings. And what needed to be, I feel the beginning of the comeback once again from the side of Crazy Raccoon ends up just being flawed.
And Neff had the Rolling Thunder in that, like, as he died in a round before this, he had the Rolling Thunder available. It's a nice position, and Sadak just catches Medusa, knows instantly where that second player is going to be. And this hasn't just been Sassy clutching out insane rounds. He's been able to do that, but now you've got GTN and FRZ that are playing with that freedom. Crazy Raccoon, like Fisker, he was really dominant with the up when he had it. It's not going to be in his hands now. Match point, series point on the horizon for Vikings.
Yeah, and unfortunately in this round there is very little to be played with for the side of Crazy Raccoon. They've got good gamble here. 3 players currently waiting on C, maybe expecting that because of the financial situation or the deficit that they have, that it is going to likely be a C hit. They have left 1 player behind, Sudikas holding an aggressive spot from Fisker.
Nice play. Seekers is going to give chase, and Munchkin has given a position to help aid. The Rolling Thunder actually used on these 2 players. There is a response that can come in instantly. That's a big ultimate dedicated on an econ. With 50 seconds left, Vikings do have that freedom to go elsewhere, and that is exactly what Steakhouse is able to do. C-site is open, and the reset's going to come in.
Yeah, he's taken so much control. This lurk could be everything in this round. If he kills off Medusa, then even just the chance of a retake, yeah, that's it. That might be it, all on its own. Just that one sneaky little play that gets them that extra control. That was the play there coming through from Crazy Raccoon. They were hoping to lock down on the retake. That's why they gave up C. But just the intelligence of Sudikas, well, it looks a bit silly when there's no one behind it, but he was hoping to try and knife someone just waiting off the back.
I wonder how often that will happen, if at all, this tournament. Because we kind of know the trick at this point.
That got everyone.
Yeah, and I think there was a grab as well that came in from Steakhouse, and just the full picture for Vikings. Like, this is what you want to see if they close this out 13-6, going into that qualifying game against Gambit or Team Secret. Tough opponents for sure, but this is a return, a reignition of the Vikings of yonder years. I say that, it was just like January of this year. It wasn't that long ago, but
it feels
that way, yeah.
With how the VCT works, it's a very, very long time. And well, we've still got Fnatic coming up next too. If it feels like years since I've seen them. But either way,
yeah, Sadak is just like, how can I fight? Like, how is it this easy? Like 6 rounds in a row now. Crazy Raccoon just these second halves. It's just a second half nerf for them, no matter what.
Yeah, they don't have that comeback mentality. Because I feel like each time it's been like a 6-1 scoreline. They've turned it around, but to expect that every single time, they at least have a purchase, a couple of ultimates online. This is going to be a little bit different. A pace change coming through. You can see the lurk from Sudikas just setting his team up with the utility. And actually, Sadak, he's wanting to try and fight this. He wants Sadak out of the back of the site. He's got GTN to support him. They're not leaving anything to chance, but Medusa's given them a lifeline. A kill, the flash not landing, and he takes a second to his name. Fisker's also somehow managed to get one with a shorty, but now he needs a clutch. A 1v2 to keep them in this first match. Otherwise, the lower bracket is where Crazy Raccoon will have to lie and wait for their opponent to try and meet them. Fisker, he has a chance here. The first kill goes his way, but there's utility to deny him for that extra piece of time. He's watching the right angle, but he's going to look away. Fisker will keep them in the map, as he will have the defusal through and a 7th for Crazy Raccoon.
It was a good read from Fisker. He had a good idea that Sadak was going to lurk around. The Killjoy playing out perfectly with the util, trying to flank, get in a position. It's just that Fisker had a good read on it. It was a really necessary moment for him to clutch out. And now it's, again, how they use this to go forward, because they haven't really forced Team Vikings to eco at all, ever. And it's going to be a few rounds now that they have to win in a row in order to force it, but it goes to show that it's, no matter what, always been an uphill battle. Battling with their own economy, because it's just one player that survives there, and got up against a team that seems to be able to operate his time and time again. It's a great time to do a timeout at this point, because really it's just, what is it the Vikings have been doing so well now, and how do we combat that?
Yeah, I think as well, like, considering how things have went, although financially it kind of sucks that it was a Red Bull clutch that took things home, even just for your mental, just the fact that you've basically pulled yourself out of the grave, you pulled yourself back from the depths, it's something, but it's not a good spot to be in. Like, that's not the, like, it's not the sort of round that makes me feel confident in the side of Crazy Raccoon, especially because the initial take as well was actually very good. It was methodical coming out of Vikings. They went for the initial plant, got denied by utility, and went, you know what, let's be proactive. Let's clear some of these extra angles. Let's push these players out of the site and force them to retake. And, well, it took some individual brilliance from Fisker to stop this from already being over.
And because it's on the B side, that is the site you're going to see executes coming on the least. Like, it's not as if Team Vikings execute on A is bad, or C, for that matter.
True.
You know, like, it's been 100% success rate on those sides so far, so it's what they kind of do now. They've got options no matter what they work with. But with that tap pause, maybe there was something that Twinkle, the coach, spotted. You know, like, if it's just they keep leaning this direction, we're giving up too much space on A. We can get the operator in the hands of Fisker. Like, he has the Blade Storm. We do have ultimates. Let's play around them, because it's no good having a Rolling Thunder if you're just going to play with your face and try and fight against them. You got to bring those ultimates in and an idea.
There's some solid early utility thrown, but nothing really there to capitalize. Munchkin, though, out in no man's land, is going to take 2 players with him. A better start for Crazy Raccoon, but now we see that adaptation already. A sneaky play from Sudecast looking to go into mid. Now it is being watched, and there's an alarm bot alongside it as well.
Yeah, Medusa has that mid control, just don't peek it. If you go down here, it's not only losing this control in the front of B main, but also Garage, which is now starting to be pushed. Like, just a turret going off, it's going to take Medusa's attention away. With it broken. Yeah, there he goes. The alarm bot is still going to at least temper the position of Sudecast. Like, he's not going to go any further. And there's still 2 players all the way over on A for Crazy Raccoon. That's a rotation that takes a while.
Yeah, Sudecast just trying to bait them with his utility and just hoping that somebody walks into his crosshair, gives them a way back into this round.
Adi needs to do better here as well. Like, similar position. Fisker
Nice
just
shot.
wait in. It's patience. Sudecast is taken out. And it's just how does
30
utilities used?
seconds
He
left.
puts down the smoke himself, but instead he's just going to peek out, instantly places it, puts down another one just to break up this site a little more. He's got the help from his teammates, but being stunned, it's a difficult, awkward position, and they know exactly where he is.
Standing.
Oh, it needs to be an absolutely ridiculous play from Sadak. He's brought it into a 1 versus 2, but the stun is perfect. No chance for him to survive that one, and Crazy Raccoon are going to get an 8th round on the board. A solid start, but again, I don't know how recreatable that round is going to be. Like, you basically relied on 2 kills coming through from Munchkin in a position where he should have probably got maximum 1.
Yeah, it's a cute play, right? You put this smoke down on A long, you sort of expect the boost up maybe with the jet up, and instead it's the Sova that just pushes out of all things. Like, these are just gambles. Like, despite even Munchkin getting 2 kills there, that's a lot of utility. And now an ultimate that could have been lost, right? So you don't want to be losing out util agents, especially with the composition that Crazy Raccoon have. It's early on. Like, the stun is the same as well. It sets up Fisker. It's a bit of a bait too. But Fisker maybe doesn't know that there's a lot of players coming through. His position on the op is actually going to be scared away. Like, Trailblazer sees him. There is a fault line that could come through that can shut him down. And also an Astra Star. Like, the suck and stun, he cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, they're looking to try and catch him, but he won't be able to escape. Drone also used to try and find information in response. They'll know that there's a couple of players at least still holding in to long, and
Oh no.
it's risky from Fisker. He makes an all-in play and loses his head for it. The remaining players actually starting to back off a little bit, maybe not expecting them to try and push off that play, but it's patient from Vikings. They're now expecting these risks to be taken by Crazy Raccoon, and in fact, they're starting to set up into what will be an A execution.
It's so different to the last round that we just saw, where Crazy Raccoon were happy to play patient. Now they're starting to peek and over-aggress. Now Garage is under the control of Adisho, but he's far away from the action. The stun on Medusa, he's under a lot of pressure, and that grab play,
Beautiful.
it's on the same side. GTN, he clears up the backside. These last 2
30
players,
seconds
Hunter's
left.
Fury, does tag onto a few players at the end, but there's no kill, there's no real information. 2 versus 5 retake.
Yeah, that execution couldn't have been any better. Catching the players at the back of sight, finding the opener at that, and the remaining 2 now even have to wait out the time of the lockdown. Especially after already using the shock darts. And actually, it's going to be a peek through. FRZ maybe giving them a way back into this round. We've also got the divide to try and split things up, but then comes through the Rolling Thunder. So much to deny them here, and they're letting GTN go for the ace. I said he had a slow start to this one. but they now have the clear. Sudikas to close out this matchup. Vikings continue in that upper bracket after winning their opening matchup, and Crazy Raccoon once again not off to a solid start.
It felt that whole last round was the issue, just the pressure getting to Crazy Raccoon, that the feeling that they need to make a play. Like, that's how they started out the round. Just before this, we saw Munchkin getting 2 kills, it was cute, but then everybody's like, I need to do something, I need to make a play. When in reality, Crazy Raccoon looked the best when they set the tempo, and Vikings had 30 seconds to make an exec, and then it kind of turned into spaghetti from there a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think as well, it still comes down to me, at least, is that in terms of Munchkin having to, like, play new agents, IGL, it almost looks like he is doing too much for the team for it to actually work out, because it does still seem to be that when they need to adapt, it just takes too long.
It doesn't feel involved.
Or it takes just like, okay, we've now lost 5 rounds in a row, and then the 6th round will have an adaptation. You're just giving too many early starts, and it's the same here. Like, both halves, 6-1, 6-0 up. Like, that just can't be a thing that happens for Crazy Raccoon, because after that point, that's where we start to see them adapt and coming up with their own ideas and things that they can do to almost change things.
Yeah.
But that's way too late in a match.
If it takes you that long to get a read on a team that is basically running what they did at the start of the year, that's not good. That's not good. That's the thing as well for Vikings going forwards. Like, this is stuff that people have seen. I imagine, like, Gambit, Team Secret, and whoever win that will look at these games and kind of go, we've seen this all before, we have some good protocols on how to deal with it. Maybe it's a case that Vikings have some other stuff to show, but really everything was lined up as it should be for this team. It was still wobbly, but at least you look at it and go, this is exactly their identity. I think Crazy Raccoon were just trying to make some, not make it up on the spot, but throw Munchkin onto a silver or put him on a KO. It's not enough of a difference, really, with some of the issues that Crazy Raccoon have had from previous Masters events.
I think we're also still seeing that factor of just individual players coming out from the side of Vikings being able to adapt on the fly. Like the lurks that were coming through from Sudikas, Sassy still having high impact plays. They had those executions towards the end as well, where just every single piece of utility looked like it was on point. And as said, if you're looking for the sort of hopefuls of Brazil, this is one of the groups where there is a good chance of them to actually make it to the playoffs. So of course, we're yet to see how Secret are going to perform, Ryan, but that was positive for me, at least.
I think as well, like, the 3 different Brazilian teams that are in this tournament are very, like, VCT is just straight firepower when it comes to how it works. This team is just the fundamentals. It's almost like Sentinels-esque with their early, like, we have our set strategies, but it's how we adapt on the fly and play off of each other. And then you look at teams like Furia, it's a lot slower paced, it's more about utility. Again, that team play. But I think Vikings is just a nice hybrid between the firepower of VCT and Heat especially, and also the team play that comes in from Furia. This well-roundedness might be the difference that makes this team the best in Brazil, maybe, but certainly a shot for playoffs.
I think as well, the other thing as well is going to be seeing how they play up against likely Gambit, but for now, we are going to be throwing things over to the Prime Gaming match highlights to see how this one went down.
Both teams look cool, calm, and collected, but this could turn into a bloodbath.
Whichever team comes out really strong in this opening game, that sets the tone.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
Take the day off work.
Welcome back to the Analyst Deck, everyone. All I gotta say here is Vamos Brazil. I wanted to say that back at Masters 3, and I never got the opportunity. I wasn't on the desk for that many of the Brazil games, but Vikings, they look great.
And I think they answered finally some of the questions,
Yes.
right? That game looked flawless, especially that second half. That looked really, really nice. The amount of Astral combinations, the breach from Saucy was just on point. It was really, really good to see, and I definitely have higher hopes now for Vikings than I did starting this tournament.
I know Sadak's sitting in that MVP spot where he rightly deserves to stand after that map. I mean, it felt like the Killjoy map on both teams for a lot of that time, but I wanted to point out the fact that Sassy took 8 opening engagements. You know how many he lost? Just a single one. You only just lost one.
On a breach, as you do.
Breach. On the battle breach. Why not? Bring it to the forefront. I think breach is definitely coming to the meta for a lot of these teams, but comboing it with the Astra is what really makes my day, and that's what we got to see here in multitudes.
Yeah, Sutekas was on point the entire time, right? He was so good, especially those last couple of rounds to close out that map. It was pretty much Sutekas just getting a nasty grab up. Sometimes 2 people in it. It's really, really nice to see. And we did mention Sadak at the top of the scoreboard. It's crazy how much he was first through a smoke as Killjoy. Like, that is unheard of.
And he had really good turret placements as well. I know that they sort of were at the, not really at the forefront of our attention, but where he placed them allowed him to be able to move around the site the way he wanted. It gave him an opportunity to cut the site in half and go, well, I only need to focus on these 2 because my turret's got the back, I'm good to go. And we didn't necessarily see that because it's not something you always idealize.
Yeah, at one thing to point out there, you saw 11 frag wins for Vikings. That is a lot. That is what you can tell. That match was kind of not close because of the 11 frag wins. Usually there's a lot more, you know, post-plant wins and stuff like that. So definitely something to point out.
I do want to say really quickly because, you know, for Brazil, this is great. It's promising, especially in a group where you have a decent chance of getting out. But what does this mean for Crazy Raccoon?
Tough. I was hoping Bowler would come in and lay it down softly for me. I had high hopes. I was like, look, for the Japanese fans out there, I don't want to put a dampener on your hype because I do think they can bounce back. But this just goes to prove that in the time they've had between their last international spur and now, not a lot has changed. They're trying to play someone else's game, and it's not really working for them. They only have days to really work this out, and that is not a lot of time.
I mean, there wasn't much they could do against the nastiness we saw of some of the utilities. Let's take a look at the Verizon high-speed moment. As I said, some nasty combos. This one in particular with just all the Astra utility Bala is beautiful.
Yeah, they're so good. The gravity well starts, and then the fault line comes in. And once you get stunned, it is impossible to get out of that gravity well. So literally all 3 players right there completely stuck, and the spray down from multiple angles. I want to point out, too, that not only did he hit that gravity well, but Sutekas actually opened that round up because they were actually going to hit A at the start of that. But then he realized he has an opening to lurk up C, get into spawn, and he finds somebody in the back, and then instantly puts the Astral wall down. I was like, it's kind of fast, but boom, they had a plan with it.
I was sitting here and he goes, that's kind of fast. And I'm like, no, the man knows what he wants to do. Bali, you need to be quiet because the man knows what he wants to achieve, and he got it. So he went there.
Well, we've talked a lot about Saucy today. He has been incredible on those 2 agents, but he's standing by with Rivington right now for the Verizon post-match interview.
That's right. I have the man of the hour right here, Saucy, standing next to me after their win over Crazy Raccoon. The W coming through. It's got to feel good. You're starting off your international events pretty much the same. A win in Reykjavik, a win now here in Berlin. But you even said yourself, there's been 3 months in between. So this start-out win was important here.
I mean, it's not the same as Champions, bro. It's like a big difference. We have been working to get this spot since January. So yeah, we are here. And it's been like 3 months that we don't play like an official match. And we are so excited. I think that's why, that's the reason we get like, we didn't finish the game earlier. We got like 5-6 rounds advantage and we got like, okay, 6-6. We didn't get a perfect half. So yeah, we were a bit nervous, I think.
So that those 3 months, was it kind of you just got complacent, you thought you were ahead, you were okay with, what kind of revolved around that, and then the communication to bring it
Yeah,
back?
okay. We tried to switch me to Jet. I was playing Sova, then we tried to go Jet, and then okay, I suck at operator. Operator doesn't work with me. Okay, let's okay, done. Let's go back to Sova, and then we get these 3 months to work quietly. Nobody knew about us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like people are not respecting us in a way, because like people are talking a lot, tire list and blah 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 blah. So yeah, we are like just baby steps, you know. We respect everyone. We are humble enough, and we need to prove ourselves in the game. So we're not able to talk. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. And kind of looking at your group, or to let people know, how were scrims coming up? What can we expect from Vikings? Have you actually scrimmed much of your group?
I mean, yeah, we have scrimmed against Gambit sometimes in the beginning when we were both camping, and they were really good. So I'm excited to play against them because they're the best, and it's a challenge, you know. Like they are the champions. They won Berlin last time, and you know we don't have the obligation to win against them. So yeah, we are the underdogs. So let's just have fun.
A win is a great way to start it off.
Yeah.
I have to ask you a final question here. The next game is Cloud9 versus Fnatic. Sasi, who do you have in that match?
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, I think that EU has a little bit of advantage on macro way, but yeah, NA is better on micro.
All right. All right. You heard it here from the man. Sasi, congratulations on the victory over Crazy Raccoon. We are going to be throwing it to a quick break, but day one of VALORANT Champions is not over. It's Fnatic taking on Cloud9 right after this.